Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Horror Dome. I'm just kidding. But hi. And yes, the title of the video is not a lie nor a sham. I did indeed watch one of my favorite Saw movies and one of my favorite horror movies because I was fucking bored. I was gonna make a video containing all of the Saw movies in them, but decided against it since it seemed like it would make the video drag on for much too long and just make it too fucking long. Like one of those obnoxiously long video essays that are 4 hours long. I hate those, and I'd much rather they be piecemealed in rather than one whole thing at once for me as a creator. As a viewer, these videos are great to have on in the background, but as a creator, my back hurts from looking at all the editing that I must do. Man, editing me must feel like a fucking idiot, am I right? Anyways, another reason why I decided to review the first movie is because it truly is the best movie in the whole 7-movie saga. I'm not counting Jigsaw or Spiral because I'd want to one day review those movies by themselves in a separate video. Another reason why I'm actually going to be reviewing 3 of the Saw movies instead of like all of them is because after Saw 3, I consider the franchise to kinda drag on and made the movies all kinda similar. Like these were all just gore porn at that point instead of actual movies. But anyways, another reason why I wanted to review this movie is because they're my favorite horror movies. I made a video a while back talking about why I like horror, and I explained that Saw 1 was my favorite horror movie of all time. And I stand by this opinion because this movie fucking still holds up. My favorite reaction was showing somebody who has never watched horror movies this movie and having them see the twists at the end. It was fucking fantastic. The first 3 movies, specifically the first one, made hella bank. Like Saw 1 had a budget of over $1.2 million and accumulated a box office of 100 times that. Like that shit is just so impressive for a movie with a budget so fucking small. Like it did a lot of stuff that horror at the time hasn't done yet, but wished it did, and it did it all thanks to the director James Wan, who people may know nowadays from Aquaman, but growing up I knew James Wan for his horror movies. Stygian, Saw, Dead Silence, Insidious Chapter 1 and 2, The Conjuring 1 and 2. He wasn't a prolific horror director, but he did have a knack for it, and unfortunately got less and less light over the years in terms of the horror genre. Like, he still is a producer in a lot of horror movies, but I just wish he would went back to directing and writing more simple horror like back in the day. Speaking of having a knack for something, before he wrote Saw 1, the movie, he wrote and directed another Saw-related thing called Saw, the short. This was kinda like a test screen thingy he did to see if the vision of Saw could be a real thing, and if you haven't seen the short of his, I highly recommend it. It stars Leigh Whannell, I hope I said his fucking last name right, who stars in a bunch of other things produced by James, and he also plays a character in the Saw movie. It seems like he likes working with him quite a lot.
And like, I rang him and I pitched him the idea for the scene, you know, with the jaw trap. I'm like, it's gonna be great. We've got this fucking woman, and she wakes up strapped to this chair, and she's got this steel trap on her face, and there's a timer on it, and when it goes off, it's gonna split her face open, you know, and she has to find the key, and it's hidden in someone's stomach, and you know, but she manages to get it off just in time. And James is like, that's great. Put a creepy doll in there, it's perfect.
Anyways, go watch the short for Saw. It's kind of good for only being 10 minutes long. And it also gives us an introduction to the iconic trap of the series, the reverse bear trap, which went on to being the icon for the series and one of my favorite traps. And this short also introduces us to Billy the Puppet, who wasn't voiced by Tobin Bell, but somebody else. I don't actually know who he was voiced by in this short. I would like to assume that was James Wan himself, because it doesn't sound anything like Tobin Bell.
You don't know me, but I know you. I want to play a game.
Congratulations,
David, you are still alive. Most people are so ungrateful to be alive, but not you. Not anymore.
Like, it's so weird to hear Billy be voiced by someone else other than the iconic Tobin Bell. Like, it just not having Tobin Bell's raspy voice that I grew to love on fucking Billy the Puppet, it was so fucking weird. It kind of caught me off guard. I actually didn't watch this short. I actually didn't know this short existed. So I went back and watched it like last week, and it's fucking good. So go ahead, fucking watch it. Oh yeah, and also Billy the Puppet was apparently wearing a green hat for some fucking reason. Like, this hat never appears in any other Saw movie, to my knowledge. Saw 2003, or as the fans call it, Saw .5, is free to watch on YouTube. It gives you a taste of what the Saw movies are like in a bite-sized fucking time. Go ahead, it's free, people love free shit, so fucking go watch it. Anyways, enough rambling. I'm sorry this took too long. I just wanted to nerd out a bit and express my love for this movie before I actually dive into it. But without further ado, let's start with Saw 1. Saw 1 was the first ever horror movie I watched, and I watched it in theaters with my dad. He is either the best dad ever or the worst dad ever because he showed me Saw at an early age. But hey man, it worked out at the end. I definitely do not have a fetish for traps. But going into this movie, it scared the fuck out of me as a kid. Growing up and giving it a rewatch, it was amazing to me how well the director for this movie could have made it with the budget he had. Like I said in the intro, the first movie was a huge success. Like, massive, and for a good reason. The first movie was very unique, and this was the golden era for horror movies, in my humble opinion. And the reason for this was because this was the era where we got weird with horror and started experimenting. But none of them ever came close to the amount of hype and awe Saw 1 had. It truly was a success story from a movie no one expected to be good. There is no reason why Saw 1 should have made bank, but it did. And that's a mighty impressive goal and a mighty impressive thing to me. But enough gushing. What is the movie about? The movie starts off with our protagonist waking up in a bathtub filled with water and a mysterious blue shining object. Our protagonist wakes up and triggers the mechanism that filled the bathtub to empty itself out and flush the mysterious blue object with it. The mysterious blue object is important for later, by the way, so keep that in mind. The first thing our protagonist says is, "Am I dead?" Which I thought was very funny because in the Saw series, you might as well be dead than to be trapped in one of Jigsaw's traps. Anyways, we get introduced to another main character. So in total, we have two main protagonists. Lawrence Gordon, a doctor, and Adam Faulkner, a photographer. Two complete strangers meeting for the first time. Right? They wake up in a room with a dead man in the middle of it holding a gun with blood around him and presumably killed himself with the gun. The blood and gun is very important for later, so please keep that in mind. After the two main characters see the dead man, and after their initial shock, they realize that they have been chained to the wall by their legs. The two main characters react to their legs being chained, and you can kind of see their personalities just by how each of them react to waking up and finding their legs chained to the wall. Dr. Gordon is calm and analyzes the room and his surroundings, while Adam just fucking freaks out, which isn't a weird reaction as you think. Their reaction shows you two polar sides of the human emotion for fear. One of them has a more rigid and calm approach, which is very unnerving once you think about the fact that his fucking leg is chained up in a gross fucking bathroom somewhere, while the other one has the reaction that we'd all have when we find out that our leg has been chained to the wall. It's a nice detail that I don't really see a lot of reviewers talk about when analyzing this movie. The leg chaining thing is gonna be super important for later. You bet your fucking sweet bippy it will. Gordon and Adam notice the man in the middle of the room. Gordon then asks Adam if he recognizes the dude, to which Adam said no. By the way, a very important detail, the man's head is actually facing towards Adam. That's very important because then Dr. Gordon can't actually see his face. It's very important for later. There's a lot of really important shit that you have to pay attention to when you're watching this movie, which makes it fucking awesome. He then asks Adam if he remembers anything before waking up. Adam's reply still to this day cracks me the fuck up.
Well, do you have any idea how you got here?
No,
What's the last thing you remember?
nothing. I went to bed in my shithole apartment and woke up in an actual shithole.
Adam does the same, to which Gordon responds with a no as well.
What about you, huh?
There's not much to tell. I was on my way home from work, and I don't remember anything else.
Keep in mind the response, because it'll be important later in the movie. There's a lot of really important shit at the beginning of the movie that you have to remember for the end of the movie, but it also comes back full circle, so that's what makes this fucking movie cool. But in the room, they notice a brand new clock, which indicates that somebody wanted them to know the time. Time plays a very important role in the Saw movies. It kind of symbolizes the precious few moments you have before you die, which is kind of the whole main topic of the franchise, but more specifically the first 3 movies, and you'll find out sooner or later. It also asks the question like, what would you do if you knew you were gonna die in a certain amount of time, kind of type deal. Anyways, Adam finds a cassette tape. That's this thing for my younger audience, by the way, in his back pocket with the name and a note attached to it. Gordon finds the same thing. He also finds a key that is way too small to fit in the locks on the chain. But wait! What's this? The dead man, I'm gonna call him Dead Man John, is holding a tape recorder. One they can use to actually play the tapes they have. Gordon instructs Adam to use his shirt to get the tape recorder, since it's too far away from him, but it doesn't reach the recorder. So he tries using one of those water stoppy thingies he found in the bathtub to tie it at the end of his shirt to reach the recorder. He gets the tape recorder and plays his tape. This is where the game begins. We get introduced to one of the most iconic voices in horror, in my opinion.
Rise and shine, Adam. You're probably wondering where you are.
Tobin Bell just has such a good voice, and his performance as Jigsaw is still, to this day, one of my favorites in horror movie, bar none. Fucking Ghostface's voice when he fucking answers the phone, fuck that shit. Tobin Bell's voice as Billy the Puppet is mwah, 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 perfect. Anyways, the tape tells Adam and Gordon that if they don't find a way out of the room in the allotted time frame that they were given, then they'll die because they won't get an antidote to a poison that was injected into them while they were sleeping. And if they don't get out, Dr. Gordon won't see his family again, and they'll die too. But there's a catch. For Gordon to get out, he needs to kill Adam. And for Adam to get out, he needs to watch himself get killed. Which is very cryptic, but it makes sense when you watch the movie. This is the whole time aspect I was talking about earlier. The Saw movies introduced this concept of how desperate are you to survive, and is to this day such an amazing concept for horror. Also, in the tapes you can kind of hear the man talking, kind of start coughing.
When there's that much poison in your blood, the only thing left to do is shoot yourself.
Which hints to something, but this something will become relevant at the end of the movie. The tape also mentions that there are other ways to win the game and survive. It mentions an X marking the spot for treasure. Gordon also discovers a hidden message in the tape saying, "Follow your heart."
The hell does follow your heart?
Again, cryptic, but I like it because it keeps first-time viewers on the edge of their seat. And it does a really good job of doing that. After hearing the tape, Gordon spots a toilet next to Adam with a heart painted with Dookie on it. Oh, how joyous. Speaking of Dookie, the toilet has Dookie in it. And Adam, God bless his fucking soul, needs to stick his hand in there to see what's inside the bowl. But oops, there's actually nothing in the bowl part of the toilet, but in the tank instead. Which makes Adam kind of mad because he stuck his hand in Dookie for nothing.
I really wish I had checked in there first.
In the tank, he finds a black plastic bag with 2 jigsaws in them. He throws one to Gordon and keeps one for himself and throws the bag into the bathtub, and they both try to cut their chains. But oops, it doesn't work, and Adam ends up breaking his jigsaw, which sends him into a fury. He throws the saw across the room into a mirror and breaks a part of it off. After a few moments of grinding away at his chain, Gordon realizes that the jigsaws aren't actually made for the chains, but instead through leg.
He doesn't want us to cut through our chains. He wants us to cut through our feet.
This shit is so fucking cool because you can kind of tell what's going to happen at the end of the movie, which also plays into the desperation part. I remember watching this part of the movie when I was younger and just being all scared about it because it was so well written and just came out of fucking left field. This triggers a thought in Gordon's mind and he figures out who's done this to them. A killer who goes by the name of Jigsaw. The reason why he goes by the name Jigsaw is because he cuts out a piece of meat shaped like a jigsaw piece from his victims. The reason why he knows this is because he was a suspect in one of the Jigsaw murders. We get a flashback to one of Jigsaw's victims hanging from a box filled with barbed wire, and we get introduced to Danny Glover's character, Detective Tapp, Ken Leung's character, Detective Stephen Young, and Dinah Meyer's character, Detective Allison Carey. The detectives also found a tape that was directed to the victim. It's the same tape that Adam and Gordon had back in their bathroom. See, the reason for Jigsaw killing people, or the reason why he puts them in this situation, is because Jigsaw likes to go after people who don't value the gift of life. And that's why he went after Paul, the one in the barbed wire cage. See, Paul is a perfectly healthy middle-aged man who slit his wrist for attention. Jigsaw saw this as someone throwing away their lives and decided to give Paul a test to see how much he actually values his life. Hence, the barbed wire cage. If Paul really cared about his life, he'll make it from one side of the cage to the other through the barbed wire. But Jigsaw also gave him a choice, where if he didn't care for his life at all, he could stay at one side of the cage, where if he didn't care for his life, like he says he does, Paul can just stay in one place and let the timer run out, which closes the door and makes the room his tomb. God, this movie is so fucking good. See, something else that Jigsaw did was give Paul the illusion of choice. Like, Jigsaw never said anything about the room being filled with poison, or I don't know, fucking the room will explode. Jigsaw says that the room is going to be his tomb, but never actually says if the door is going to be locked or closed. As in, like, he could just get out of the barbed wire and take a sweet time with it and open the door. He never really said that. It's interesting because Jigsaw creates these games where people can survive, but desperation kicks in and people find a way to unnecessarily hurt themselves. And you can see that with Paul's game. If he stayed on one side of the room, he would still be alive. Yeah, starving after a few hours, sure, but alive nonetheless. But the desperation factor kicks in and forces him to move. It's quite genius, honestly. Also, Jigsaw isn't really a killer. He puts people in situations where they kill themselves, so he's not really a killer, you know? Tomatoes. An example of this is the next dude in one of his traps who was in a room with a bunch of numbers and a safe. A safe that he needs to find the combination to thanks to the numbers on the wall, which are plastered every fucking where, by the way. To do this, he needs to enter in the right combination. Jigsaw trapped this dude because he was faking being sick and was just out doing shit. Like, he was just out getting lunch and shit like that. He wasn't really appreciating his life. He was just, like, staving off his responsibility. Oh yeah, and fucking his body was also smeared in a flammable substance. And there's a candle in the room on a small platform. Jigsaw mentions the candle, but never told him to use it to see things. The room was already pretty well lit. he didn't have to use the candle. If Mark, the dude smeared in a fucking flammable shit, never picked up the candle, then he could have just taken his time entering a bunch of combinations before the poison killed him, instead of lighting himself on fire like a fucking dumbass. Also, I forgot to mention that it was like injected with poison, and the antidote is in the safe, so he needs to get it. Man, Jigsaw really likes poison. Like, I've noticed it a lot in a lot of his movies. Anyways, after this, the detectives find out that Jigsaw left a pen light which had prints of, you guessed it, Dr. Gordon on it. Hence, why Dr. Gordon was a suspect. We then cut to Dr. Gordon teaching a bunch of med students about a man who had colon cancer, which spread and became brain cancer. The depiction of Dr. Gordon talking about the patients instead of treating them like regular people is so on the nose for how real doctors talk about dying patients in a hospital with no empathy at all. Like, I'm a nurse, and it all just absolutely shocks me how spot on this depiction was. Anyways, we then meet Zep, a janitor who recognizes the patient and calls him by his real name, John. Anyways, Dr. Gordon is then brought into questioning by the detectives, and at first he declines because of excuses, but then joins when he sees the pen light they found at the scene. Obviously, he didn't know how it ended up there. And the reason why he actually didn't want to go with the police was because he was out cheating on his wife. Wow, actual depiction of a doctor, holy shit. So now we have a reason why Gordon might know who the dude on the tape is. Also, a really important detail as to why Dr. Gordon didn't recognize the dude as Dead Man John, but we do, is because his face was turned over to Adam, so he couldn't really see his face. So that's why he didn't know it was Dead Man John. We then get another short flashback to one of the survivors of the Saw games, who goes by the name of Amanda Young. This part of the movie I really fucking like. And it's because it dives deep into the psychological aspect of the horror genre that I personally like. You get to hear Amanda's experiences with the game, and you get to see firsthand what they entail. We also get to see the iconic trap that Saw is known for, which is the reverse bear trap. Such an ingenious murder device. I love it. Also, Easter egg, her whole game was actually used in the short film, the one I recommended a while ago, and they just reused it, which I think is so fucking cool because the movie used a concept again instead of making a new one so they can save money because the budget they had was just so fucking piss poor shit. So this was actually a smart move on their part. This scene is also just terrifying from a person who hasn't even been in the shoes of Amanda, and it's such a well-written scene. Also, we see Billy for the first time. Hi, Billy. Hi, Billy. I love you. So after this, we get to learn that Amanda was a drug addict who didn't appreciate life, and that's why Jigsaw picked her. But instead of Amanda feeling afraid and not wanting to live anymore because after the traumatic experience that she had, she instead said that Jigsaw helped her and helped her start her life over again, this time with her appreciating it. This whole scene is just so brilliantly acted out, brilliantly written, and is just so brilliantly placed into motion on the big screen that I would like to think that it is one of the most iconic scenes in horror to this day. Whenever I think of the Saw franchise, I think of this fucking scene. It's just so fucking good. Watch Saw 1, please, I beg of you, I beg of you. I'll start selling feet pics if you watch Saw 1, please. Anyways, enough dick sucking of the movie. Let's get back to the room with Adam and Gordon. Adam is questioning if Gordon is really a prisoner in this game or if he was one that put him in there, which is kind of genius once you think about it. I mean, it would be so great for the killer to just be trapped in the same situation as you, only for them to always have the advantage over you and end up killing you no matter what. I could see the genius of this scene. I could smell it. I could smell it. Adam picks up a glass and threatens to cut Gordon, only for him to realize that this is no ordinary glass, when in fact, it's actually a piece of two-way mirror. Ooh, spooky. Someone was watching them. Oh, shock, gasp, ah. We then get a flashback and a cut to Dr. Gordon's daughter's room, to before she and her mom were kidnapped by someone. But what we also get to see was Dr. Gordon prioritizing his work life above his family life. It's interesting how the concept of living your life with every second appreciated is a constant thing in this movie and in this franchise. We then get a very touching moment between Adam and Dr. Gordon sharing photos of his wife and kid. But oops, what's this? Adam sees a photo of them captured instead of a heartwarming picture and doesn't tell Gordon. He looks at the back of a photo with a hint to their next clue. He throws back the wallet to Dr. Gordon and hides the photo from him with the clue. We then cut to a scene where Gordon's wife and kids were kidnapped by none other than Zepp. But Zepp isn't alone. He's actually being watched by Detective Tapp. I need to get some water, hold on. My mommy said it's okay if I come over to your house if your mommy's okay with it. That's my favorite fucking TikTok. Oh my god. Anyways, let's continue. Detective Tapp thinks that Dr. Gordon is actually behind everything and that he made a mistake with letting him go free instead of taking him in. See, Detective Tapp is still investigating this case, despite it being almost half a year old, but he's just not investigating it. He's kind of obsessed with it. He even took the tape from Amanda's Saw game and just kept replaying it over and over and over again to see if he can find some sort of clue. Detective Tapp let the obsession of this case took over his life so much that he started ignoring eating and going out with his detective partner Singh. But what's this? Tapp finds a clue that reveals the whereabouts of Jigsaw from the tape. So they head over there all guns and commando style with no backup. Surely nothing wrong will happen, am I right? Okay, so Detective Singh dies. So Detective Singh dies, and this is why we get to see Tapp all obsessed with this case, because he's not a cop anymore. He's been suspended. At this point, it's more Tapp getting revenge for Singh rather than justice. But after that scene with Tapp, we then get teleported back to the two in the room. Tensions are getting high as time is running out, which means they have to act quick. And throughout their bickering, Adam figures out the next clue by asking Dr. Gordon to turn the lights off. This reveals the next clue in the game. They find a box with a phone, a lighter, and 2 cigarettes, and a single note with the words, "The cigarettes are harmless, I promise. Smoking's only poisonous when it ends in bloodshed." Think about this. You don't need a gun to kill Adam. So that gives you an idea that there is more than one way to win the game, just like he said in the beginning. But what about the phone he found in the box? Can't Dr. Gordon use that to call the police? Well, he tried, and it seems like the phone can only receive calls and not make them, which throws another wrench into his plans. We then get a flashback to Gordon walking to his car from work, where we get to see someone snag a pic of him. We also get to see how he got abducted. He was abducted by a man wearing a pig mask. As a kid, this mask scared the shit out of me, and it still kinda does. It has a sort of eerie feeling to it, like almost as if the mask was made out of real pig head instead. Like almost as if the mask wasn't made out of latex, but a real pig head, you know what I mean? Honestly, I just love the whole killer's character design. This fucking thing amazing. Like it's just up there with Michael Myers and fucking Ghostface. It's so iconic, I love it! We get a flashback to the bathroom where Gordon starts to question how Adam came up with the idea to turn off the lights. Obviously, Adam was lying because the picture told him. Adam then tells Dr. Gordon the truth and reveals the picture of Gordon's wife and kid tied up. He didn't want to show Gordon the picture because he was afraid of what he would do when he saw it. Just the way Gordon's character just broke down and started crying after seeing his picture was so fucking genuine, man. Like the emotions I felt through this scene was just chef's kiss. Gordon's character went from a stoic and calm guy to now a desperation incarnate. And honestly, it was so fun and sad to see him devolve into his primal instincts. Anyways, desperation kicks in, and Gordon starts to hatch a plan to kill Adam. And he does this by dipping a cigarette in Dead Man John's blood and throwing it and the lighter over to Adam. But as a twist, he turns off the lights so the camera can't see him giving Adam the cigarette. The good one, not the bad one dipped in poison. Not the poison built for Cusco, the Cusco poison, the poison built specifically to kill Cusco. Cusco's poison. He does this and tells Adam to act like he's dying after smoking the cigarette. You can see that the desperation for Gordon hasn't hit him just yet. This is a great plan that would have worked out if it wasn't for Adam's stellar acting in this scene. Like, absolutely, I fucking love how dumb this scene is. Like, I got a laugh out of me even a few years later. Just watch his stellar acting. Anyways, Adam is dead on the floor when all of a sudden he gets shocked by electricity through the chain on his ankle. This makes him wake up and scream because he just got hurt, foiling the plan. The look on Gordon's face when the plan didn't work out was so fucking priceless. He's just standing there like, what the fuck are you doing? You're supposed to be dead, motherfucker. But what was also priceless was Adam remembering how he got into the room and how he got abducted. Turns out Adam got abducted the same way Gordon did, and also it was revealed that Adam was the one who took the picture of Gordon. Also, the abduction scene for Adam is just so... ooh, it's so artistically perfect. I fucking love it. Oh my god, I fucking love this movie. It's so fucking good. Anyways, the phone rings and it's actually Gordon's daughter and wife. Seeing Gordon break down after the phone call ends was just so fucking visceral, man. Like, the emotions were definitely flying. And I gotta commend the acting in this movie because holy fuck, was it through the roof in this scene. Like, this movie did not deserve a budget of 1.5 million. It deserved a whole fucking lot. And I'm so glad I got so much fucking money. Anyways, Gordon's wife told Gordon not to believe Adam's lies, which is creating more tension between these two characters, and that Adam knew who Gordon was before the game began, hence why he took the picture so he knows who he is. This is where we get them confronting each other on their lies and their truths. We find out that Gordon was out cheating on his wife, but not really cheating. He was just there to be like, hey, yo, I'm not gonna do all this cheating shit. I actually don't like it. Yo, stop it. Stop sucking the dick, you know? And Adam was hired to stake out Gordon and his activities. The problem with this is that someone hired Adam to take those pics. The problem is, he doesn't really know who, only that they pay him a lot. Gordon came to the realization that the person who hired Adam was the one who put them there. They both try to recall any sort of detail about the dude and what he looked like, and it turns out it was actually Detective Tapp. They keep bickering to each other and the tension in the room grows more and more with each passing second. You can see the desperation start to kick in with Gordon, who is now just on the brink of breaking down fully. Adam takes a closer look at the pictures and sees a man in Gordon's apartment. He then asks Gordon if he knows who the dude is, and it turns out to be none other than Zepp, who is actually the one behind the computer screen watching them. But during Gordon's wild rage, Adam points to the clock in the room. They're out of time, which means Zepp has to now kill Gordon's wife and daughter. Gordon's wife untied herself and her daughter and waits for Zepp to get close so she can strike him at an opportunity. Zepp, not knowing that his daughter and his fucking wife are actually untied, offers them one final phone call to Gordon, which leaves him open for a strike from Gordon's wife. They fight in the room while Gordon is still on the phone, and from across the road, Detective Tapp hears the gunshots. He hurries over to Gordon's apartment and engages Zepp in a gunfight while Gordon is still on the phone, hearing everything go down. And from the sounds and the voices, it makes it sound like Gordon's wife was actually losing the fight. Tapp goes after Zepp at the warehouse that Gordon and Adam are held up in when Gordon gets a phone call from his wife. But unfortunately, Gordon isn't able to reach the phone. It's just out of reach. This sends Gordon into a rage and sadness, and this is where the desperation truly and utterly kicks in. And obviously, as a viewer, you're not the only one who sees this. Adam is also the one who sees the desperation truly kick in. Gordon, desperate for the phone and his family, does the unthinkable. Remember what I said a while ago at the beginning of this fucking video? Yeah, Gordon saws his leg off with a jigsaw. This scene of him sawing his leg to get out of his chain is just so brutal, even to this fucking day. Like, I know it's practical effects. Back in the day, practical effects were like more common. So seeing this scene being done practically instead of CGI is just, whoo boy. Trigger warning, by the way, this scene will probably make some of you faint, so be fucking warned, there's actual blood in this scene, so be careful when you're watching the movie, alright? Zepp and Tapp finally meet at the warehouse, and they face off in a fist fight. As the tension in this scene grows more and more, Zepp ends up killing Tapp with his gun, and then we get to see Gordon crawl towards the gun that Dead Man John has in his hand to shoot Adam. This scene is just so fucking well done. From the acting, to the tension, to the sound design. Oh my god, the fucking sound design in this fucking scene, in this movie, is so fucking good. Take away the music for this scene and replace it with something else, and this scene is nothing without that music. So again, hats off to the sound designer of this fucking movie. Anyways, Gordon aims the gun at Adam with a single bullet and ends up killing Adam. Zepp then gets to the room and sees that Gordon has shot Adam. But unfortunately, time ran out and now Zepp has to kill Gordon because it's the rules.
Why? It's the rules.
You'll see what I mean in a bit. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. It's the rules thing. You'll see about it. You'll see why he did it. Don't worry about it. Adam sneak attacks Zepp and hits him in the head with the top of a toilet tank. Now you might be asking yourself, oh, but wasn't Adam shot dead? Wasn't he dead? Actually, no. He was shot in the shoulder and was just grazed by the bullet. Zepp is now dead, and they pickpocket him to see if he has a key to Adam's chain. He doesn't, and we get a touching scene where Gordon tells Adam that he's gonna go get help. Obviously, Adam doesn't want Gordon to leave, but it's the only option and the only thing he can do at this time for them. And Dr. Gordon promises to get Adam back. Like, it's such a good scene. It's so touching because these two characters have been through so much together, and now they have to separate. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how the movie ends. Or does it? Well, a twist happens. See, to play a game, you need to have the players, right? But what about the one who made the rules for the game? What about the Grandmaster who oversees the game? What if I told you that somebody was playing the game with them? Well, someone was playing the game with them, in plain sight. When I saw this movie for the first time, many years back, I near shat my fucking pants when I found out what the twist was. Adam finds a tape recorder on Zepp, the same tape recorder that was used to listen to their tapes. And on this tape recorder, it was revealed that there was someone playing the game with them. But this guy, this person behind the tape, wasn't a player. He was more of an overseer. He was the one who injected Zepp with the same poison that Adam and Gordon had in their vein. He was the one who instructed Zepp to kill Gordon's wife and daughter and to kidnap them. He was the one who ordered him to oversee Gordon and Adam's games, all for the antidote to the poison. So, who was the guy on the tape? Do y'all remember John? Well, it turns out he was playing the game with them. He was Dead Man John. He was actually the one in the warehouse where Detective Tapp and Singh were. He was the one wearing the pig mask outfit, and he was alive the whole time and in the room with them this whole fucking time. The twist might not make sense at first, but once you see the second and the third movie, it explains how he was able to stay motionless for 8 hours due to him being under anesthesia. And the second and the third movie explain it a lot better. But anyways, Dead Man John, or John at this point, gets up and tells Adam that the key to his chain was the blue glowing object that got flushed into the bathtub at the beginning of the movie. Y'all remember that? Y'all thought I fucking forgot about that shit, huh? So, yeah, Adam is kind of fucked. And the reason why he's fucked is because John gets up and closes the door and shuts the light off. sealing Adam in a tomb while he screams for help. One of the best things that I fucking love about this movie is that usually when the movie is over, you get the credit scene, right? You get music, you get stupid shit like that, right? But with this movie, you kind of don't get that. The credits roll and you don't hear music like you usually do during the credits. Instead, you get to hear Adam scream and yell for help, which just adds to the sad ending the movie had. The scene of John getting up and seeing Adam's face turn from sadness to what the fuck just happened was so fucking well done. Oh my god, it was so fucking good. This movie, man, this movie is so fucking good for first timers to horror. Like, it's so fucking good. The twists and turns that this movie has weren't very cheesy. I mean, they were kind of cheesy, but not too cheesy to the point where they're lame. You know what I'm saying? Just the right amount of cheese. This movie had the right amount of cheese. Also, we get to hear the iconic quote from this movie. Well, one of the most iconic quotes from the whole franchise, which is the last thing you hear in this movie. And that is, most people are so ungrateful to be alive.
Most people are so ungrateful to be alive.
Again, playing with the scene and topic of life, like I said in the very beginning. God, this movie is just so fucking good. If you are a horror nut like me and you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend you watch this movie. It is well worth your time. And if you have a horror friend who hasn't watched the movie yet, I highly recommend you just sitting them down and watching them react to the whole fucking twists and turns that this movie has. Okay, well, now we're at the end. This video is probably long as fuck. I am terribly sorry for not uploading for like the past 3 weeks. Obviously, it was in preparation for this movie, and obviously I had to take a break. So I'm terribly sorry for that. But I love the first Saw movie so fucking much. And I am both sad and happy that this franchise devolved into having more than 3 movies, because the world in which this movie is made in is so interesting that they kind of like go deep into it. But I'm also sad because it doesn't explore the world deep enough. And unfortunately, after the 3rd movie, it kind of devolved into torture gore porn on the big screen, instead of what the first movie was, which was a genius horror movie. I mean, torture gore porn is also scary, don't get me wrong, but not a well-thought scary, if you know what I mean, like the first movie was. The first movie is honestly just so perfect as a horror movie. It's iconic and it delivers the scares rightfully and just perfectly. Hi, Noble here. Apparently my recording for this part of the video kind of got fucked up. So I'm terribly sorry about that. I actually had like a few more minutes left, but yeah, I'm probably just gonna do this like a VO recording and just put like, I don't know, gameplay over something. I don't know. But anyways, like I was saying, I would not be rambling for almost more than an hour about this movie if I didn't actually love it. It's amazing. It's great. And it's just a movie that I think everybody should go watch if you are into horror. And even if you're not into horror, this movie just is like a perfect example of cinematography from the early 2000s. And I recommend it to everybody who wants to just watch a really good movie. And now I kind of go into something other than the videos. So this is for the end part. But recently I've been toying with the monetization on the channel, and I've enabled being a member. So if you like this video and liked me rambling about, I don't know, fucking movies I like, specifically horror movies, make sure to be a member and help out the channel. It supports the channel, and yeah, being a member is pretty fucking cool. You don't get much in terms of being a member. It's purely donation and support for the channel, but I'll make sure that I make more of these types of videos in the future. But for now, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for sticking around for an hour. And as always, I'll see you guys when I see you guys. She'll be real soon. Until then, don't be a stranger. I will have another video out soon that will explain why I've been away for a month. And it's a little bit of a dark video. It's a little bit of a little sad video, but it explains where I've been. But yeah, anyways, that's it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. And again, go watch Saw. It is an amazing movie. See ya, guys. Bye!